What do I know about writing levelled books? I'll say one word: challenging. In fact, very challenging. They look simple. You take a level 5 book. It's got 70 to 100 running words. Who couldn't write a story like that within 70? But when you've got a controlled vocab, it is not easy. Teachers have used PMs for years. I know one in particular. They really struggle with trying to write a PM that's levelled. Those people who write extremely well at 24 to 30, many of them say, I won't touch anything that's levelled, because they know they cannot write within the controlled vocabulary. Let's have a look. I want you to look very closely at this, because I want you to really take this back to your schools so that you really understand what levels, the PM levels. Now, when I'm talking about levels, I'm talking about PM levels. I really want you to think about PM levels. When people say, oh, they're on this level, and then that level, do they truly understand what the levels are? Now, the difference between levels in levels 1 to 14 are quite different from the levels between level 15 and 24, and the levels between 25 and 30. They cover a different period of time. Now, level 1 to 14 are very fine increments. They cover a period of 18 months. So between level 1 and level 14, the child is generally chronologically about 6.5. It's about a 6.5-year-old reading level at level 14. Our children, as I said to you, in New Zealand, at age 6, it's mandatory that they have the 6-year-old, the Murray Clay 6-year-old diagnostic survey. That's really important. At Punctuation school, those children, I took every 6-year-old child enrolled for their 6-year-old diagnostic survey, so that I could see exactly where every child was, and I could feed that information back to the teachers, the junior department as a whole, and so on. Right. Our children at Punctuation were generally on round about 13 or 14 by age 6. So they were doing very well. Some were a bit lower, but on an average, between 13 and 14. You get a few skylarks that were higher, but yeah. However, you get other schools where the children may only be levels 5 or level 6, and the reason being, come on, got it in one. Remember, I said we took the oral literacy assessment early on, and then we gave them doses of oral language. Small group, individual, oral language. Remember one wee boy, Tom. I had a lot of pictures of different brushes. He looked at a picture of a toothbrush. He could not name a toothbrush, but he could say to me, it goes zzz. He could tell me what you did with it, as in he used the movement, but he couldn't tell me it was a toothbrush. So I'm just talking about something very basic in a child's life. Right? Okay. Right, now let's have a look at orange. Now, as I said, the others were very fine increments. Now you look at orange, that covers a period of 6 months. That's 15 and 16. This is all in the back of your RARs, by the way. This grid's in the back of the RAR teacher guide. See, so each one of those down to silver level cover 6, each colour band is 6 months. Now this child's world is expanding. Right, from level 25, see emerald level there, 25 and 26, that's a whole year. So 25 to 30 is 3 years. There's so much to learn in your expanding world. So much to learn. At those very early levels, the vocab that comes in slowly, gets repeated, slowly gets repeated. But I'll talk more about that later. Right, let's look at shaping the PMs. It's all part of the levelling. Now, the characters are really important. You'll find with the PMs, what we're trying to do with children is to give them this love of reading and meeting central characters. The central characters, in many cases, appear throughout the levels. The readers can identify with characters because they appear to be real children that they know. The number of kiddies that would say, oh, that's just like my cousin Jake, or yeah, he just looks like that too. And this gives children confidence because they want to read another story about a particular character. Now, you take Katie, her outgoing and impulsive character always feels real because she acts and reacts in ways that children understand. We then get imaginary characters like Jolly Roger. Silly old Jolly Roger, the kiddies love the way the silly old bloke loses his hat to start with and so on. They like to find out about him. So we reintroduced Jolly Roger. He was in Library and Stars. And then at Library and Plus. And then at Stars, I said to Deb Croft, who's got a real sense of humour, she's from Gunnedah up in Sydney, out of Sydney, and I said to her, Deb, a pirate needs a parrot. He needs a parrot. Can you think of a story to do with a Jolly Roger and his parrot? And then I had another good look at Jolly Roger and his red boots, and I said to Elsie Nellie, by the way, Elsie Nellie, been a great friend and colleague for absolutely years, back in the 1970s, Forest Lake School. I was in room 10, she was in room 11. So to say, we go back a while. I said to Elsie lives about 3 k's from me, and I said to her, oh, Jolly Roger and his red boots, let's have him slipping off some rocks or doing something mad like that. So that's how that story evolved. But kiddies love to find these characters again and again. You'll notice with the PMs, our family structures, even right back to those very early ones, Sally and Mum, you know, the character, Mum and Dad were separated. And this is right back, so it's not always Mum, Dad and 2 kids. Max lives with Granddad. There was one rep said to me a few years back, oh, some of our teachers want to know why Max lives with his granddad, as if he was a real character. And I said, well, I happened to be watching a TV program in the States, and I saw, pardon me, I saw a tornado, and the mum and dad were killed, and the little boy baby had to live with his grandfather. And I thought that would make a good structure as well. Richard Hoyt, who has illustrated those books, is a real champion. He's a Kiwi. Names are important to us. Why do you think I chose those names for PM photo stories? Pardon? Mm-hmm. Everything we do in PMs has a purpose. Got it?
You just read those out so that
Oh, sorry. You read them out.
Okay. Lily is the wife here, is the wife hungry and happy, which is a word that's used extensively in level 3 to 5. And then Josh, the sh is from should, which is introduced at level
Shouted.
Shouted, see? Shouted, which is introduced at level
5.
5.
See? Everything has a purpose. Prior knowledge, leading in, and short, consonant, vowel, consonant. Got it? Got it? Right. Many stories based on real life. Bingo's ice cream. I saw that happening at the beach. You know, family ice creams, dog jumps up, blah. Thought, right, good story idea. New glasses for Max. I have a thing about little boys and glasses. Little boy, and the reason being, I've worn glasses since I was 3 years of age. I'm very conscious of children eyesight. And I'm so pleased boys are being picked up early on. How many of those boys want to wear their glasses? The number of excuses I got were that long. I got, oh, Mum forgot to put my glasses in my bag, Mrs. Smith. Oh, I forgot them, I don't know where they are. So I wrote new glasses for Max, level 14. If you haven't met it, I'm sure Cherie will be able to pluck it out for you. As a support for our wee boys, to say to them, it's okay to wear glasses. Girls, fine, fashion statement, but boys, no, right? And I really want our boys to be successful. The story of our old friend Bear, don't know whether you remember those stories, several of them, happened. All of those different things truly happened. The lab, one of our families had this dog, which they actually called Bear, because when they got the dog as a little pup, it fitted in to Alan, the guy, his hand, the father, and it just looked like a bear, so that was why he was called Bear. Oh, sorry. Yep, so Bear, really, all those stories were true. And when I wrote the final story, which is at silver level, I gave the family a copy. Well, Glennis was tears pouring, yeah, because I wrote it as it actually happened. So all of those stories have a ring of truth about them, and that's what we try to do with the PMs, have a ring of truth, so it brings about that emotion, it brings about all those things where children can bring meaning into their stories and into their lives and take it beyond like that. Right, writing criteria. Now, precise levelling. Absolutely precise levelling is essential if a child is to gain success and to avoid reading at frustration level. I have a real thing about this, ladies. Please be very careful with that. These are the things that we will cover. Go through those, and all of those should support the PM philosophy of success, enjoyment and understanding. Success, enjoyment is what reading should be all about, and understanding. Absolutely important. Right, next one, Brendan. Right, now I've talked to you about the various concepts from a 5-year-old and 6-year-old and so on. Now, texts at these higher levels, they're far more demanding. This is a level 26. It's one of our new ones that's just been published. And they're matching the child's growing maturity. They challenge the child to think beyond the text, encouraging them to explain generalisations and present their point of view. Now, I'm sure you've heard this coming from parents. Oh, but my child's age 6 and my child can read a book like that. Oh, I see lots of smiles around the place, yes. One of the things that I've put in the RARs, first thing is retelling. Put the book away and retell it. Could that 6-year-old really retell? Could that 6-year-old answer properly, in depth, the quality of questions that you would pose for a level 26? Level 26, you're into applied knowledge. You are going beyond the text. You're wanting them to make generalisations about this. Can that 6-year-old do that? Maybe you have some highly intelligent children we haven't got over the way. But what I would say to you, please, don't be pushed. Don't feel guilty. I know I had a parent come to me and say, oh, my child should be reading much higher than that. I believe my child. I'd say, you get them to settle down. You start talking to them about it. Yeah. There's an awful lot of pressure put on you people. I really feel for you. So have your guns loaded and talk about retelling. Talk about the type of vocabulary that's used. Talk about all sorts of things and they're in the higher level books. And you'll see in ours there's all sorts of things like maps, there's all sorts of things that link in with non-fiction. In your fiction, there are higher levels of, the sentences are longer. Much longer the sentences. Have higher order of vocabulary. Vocabulary that gives imagery, gives all sorts of things. So just be careful not to push those wee people on. Right, with the PMs, levels 3 to levels 20, 23, 22 in a gold. We have specific high frequency that defines that level. The books are meticulously levelled in 1 to 20, which gives you a 95% accuracy. Now, you as teachers know that 90 to 95 is guided reading. 89% frustration level. Don't go there. 96 and on, independent. Reading it independently. When children are reading at the 95% accuracy level, the flow of their reading allows them to concentrate more fully on meaning. The best way to build up that vocabulary is to meet these words within context. So we've deliberately consolidate the new words at each level. Many of the PMs have the same words but within different contexts. So let's take a level 13 book. Now, there are specific high frequencies for level 13. All right? Now, in that, now I'm very strict about this, because what we're doing is whatever that book might be about, right? We build some of those high frequency words into that particular book. But I also insist that we put in words from the 2 levels below, because the 2 levels you are reinforcing. You know the old thing with teaching, we go that far, then we go back, and we practice. We go that far, we go back. And that's what we do with the PMs. So that if it's level 13, we are putting a certain amount of level 13 words in, high frequency, and then we're making sure when I analyse them out that we've got X number of level 12 and level 11 words as well. So that when it's balanced, and we have to be very careful that new words, new interest words, they can only be X number. You cannot have lots of new interest words. This is where some other writers who try to write PMs for us get all mucked up, and I have to redo things. Yeah, but anyway, so also what we try to do is to have all these different contexts, so that say level 13 or level 20, there's all the different contexts so that you can pick just the right book to suit that group of children. And then you've got another group of children, you pick just the right book to suit those children as well. Yep. Right, let's have a look at these ones. Now, as I've said, you're getting used to what I'm talking about with the levels 1 and 2. These are the type of vocab that we use and the sentence structures that we use in level 1 and 2. Now, levels 3 to 6, we're adding more adverbial phrases within the sentence structures. Level 7 is when we introduced and as the first conjunction. Before that, we've had it as just joining, say, two nouns, mum and dad, prepositions up and down. But now we're lengthening the sentences from level 7 so that we're adding 2 clauses. So that's quite a big step for kiddies to move into a 2-clause sentence. They've got to read through, come back and read through like that. That takes quite a lot of mental energy. See that one at the bottom there, away went the fox? That's literary language. So we're bringing that literary language in as well. So it came in at a level 5 book in PM Plus. And what it does, not only brings in literary language where the children say, away went the fox, but it's also giving movement. So in your head, you're thinking the fox is speeding off, racing off at great speed. Right, so you know where we are with these simple sentence structures here, the very early sentence structures. Right, now let's have a look at you see that I am drawing, look at me. Right, now let's move into a level 3 where it is a proper story structure. Now, here we've got the high frequency words here. Capital here. By the way, you'll see in the cards that I did out over there, if you haven't seen the PM reading and writing cards, I've actually done 40. There are 30 high frequency words, but there are some words where I've done such as here with a lowercase h and here with a capital H. That makes quite a difference visually for some children, and they've got to know why that one's got a capital H and that's got the lowercase. So here we've got 3 different sentence structures on a page. See how we've eased them in? You see it, levels 1 and 2. Now levels 3 different sentence structures, but I've given them the security there of the 2 capital here's, but the structure, they can't just trot it out. They actually have to attend to print. So here is and comes, and then you've got kitty cat and lizard and hungry. They all take quite a bit. As I say, you keep thinking of that wee chap who had no verbs at all in his oral language. So there's quite, that wee guy had to be developed, as I mentioned before. Right. Now I want you to have a look at this one. Now, the text should have a few challenges in the vocab and the sentence structures, but there should be enough challenges for the children to experience success, but not too many that could lead to failure. That's not part of the PM thing. The PM is always success. Some people seem to think that every book you give a child should be difficult. How would you like to try? I'll tell you what, try to read some of these technology manuals or read something that's a medical thing where I'm sort of, I don't know why some parents always think that a child has to have a difficult book. Unless they have a difficult book, they're not learning. Yeah. Okay, so there should be enough challenges for the children to experience success, but not too many that could lead to failure. Now, this text here, and this is two successive pages from the one about Mother Lion and her cubs. Now, have a look to see how on, 8, 9, we've got but joining two clauses, and then further on in the next one we've got and. So you can see how it's just gently bringing it along but easing them into it, because that book I think is level 10. Level 10, as I said, and the first conjunction at level 7. But is a high frequency word for level 9. So we're just easing them quietly into it. The running word totals, there's another thing I want to tell you. The running word totals are rigorously controlled at every level. Now, I said to you before, try and write a level 5 book which has got between 70 and 100 running words. You see, what I've done is I've set out specifically at each level what the parameter is for the running word totals. We don't have so many in that a child is exhausted at the end of a book. That's not what it's all about. So we're easing them and just increasing the running word totals from level to level. Now, have a look at this one. Punctuation is really important. You all know that once a child begins to read full stops, they're beginning to read with meaning. Now, in this one page, look at that. You've got your quotations marks, you've got commas, you've got exclamation marks, and you've got full stops. These are all triggers for the child. Imagine a child who has had very little literary language and experience with books before coming to school, who has not seen these things before. Look at the clarity of how that punctuation has been placed. Clarity, I've often said this, that when buying a house, it's location, location, location. With the PMs, it's clarity, 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 if we are driving meaning. Now, the font shape, we don't put ligatures on the font until level 15, and they happen in narratives, not in non-fiction. We're easing children through. Placement of the text on pages are really important. In our landscape books, there are 8 lines of text per page. Now that includes paragraph spaces. Portrait, we go to 10. All of these things are really important if you want your child to be a successful reader, and that's why the PMs are successful. It's these cunning things that we have put into it. But we're doing it for children. Line breaks. Heron walked into the river and looked down. I like looking at myself in the water, he said to an old green frog. I am very beautiful. Why do we have line breaks like this? Come on, you brilliant teachers. Great. Somebody else? It's the natural phrasing of the English language. Once upon a time, there were 3 billy goats gruff. You know, the rhythms of the English language. And this is the rhythms of the English language, and that's why the line breaks are done like that. So that children, when they read it aloud, they're reading with the rhythms of the English language, which drives the meaning. Okay, this one. I go back to the word clarity. Clarity of the artwork with no distractions. Anne Spidvile is one of your great illustrators. I was so honoured to have her do this book of mine. There it is, no distractions. Look, marry the text with the illustration. Dear old Kitty, just before that, Brendan, I was very honoured to have Ben Spivey do these. Kitty Cat would never have been so successful. It would have only been words on a bit of paper from me if it hadn't been for Ben Spivey bringing that book to life. We have people such as Isabel Lowe. Isabel Lowe, who did the Baby Bear books. Isabel was such a super lady, super lady, and died too early with breast cancer. But absolutely, she was a really, she made the Baby Bear books for Beverly. The text and photographs. The photo researchers from Sengate, I know this sounds like but honestly, they go to the nth degree to get the most perfect match of text and photograph. They go to no end to get the absolute perfect match. And that's quite thrilling and very, very satisfying. All right. So they're meticulous. I'll sort of leave you with a few things here. That meaning depends on the choice of every word in every sentence in every paragraph on every page. If we have to change a word, which we do often, even as during the process, I can tell you it has a ripple effect, and sometimes we have to change things several pages back. But we want to get it perfect. Now, reading aloud is really important. And I want you to do this with your own children in the classroom. Develop the skill with your children. When they have when they have written their story, written a bit of text, it can be 1 or 2 sentences. Get a peer, and one of the peers, sit with a peer, could be a buddy. So, read it out loud. Now, that other child will be critically analysing, and they're learning things as well. And then in turn, that child can read it aloud as well. And so what they're doing is really looking, and it's not waiting for the teacher to say, why didn't you use such and such, or have you thought of using such and such a word. Teach your children at all ages how to read their story aloud, or read this 2 or 3 sentences aloud, and give each other feedback. And that's the learning process going on. Right. PMs, as I say, have given many children worldwide the wings to fly, and that's what we're after. I'll just leave you with this saying that I picked up in the New Zealand Herald the other day. Quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt: "We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future."